Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are making a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. We're working on the chasms, right? So they can pull us and make us fall into the chasm. Now the issue is how we calculate it. We can walk diagonally and kind of get over the chasm. So we need to kind of rehaul this whole falling triggering that we've got going on, because we should not be able to walk over a chasm without falling. So we're going to be trying to do that, trying to rehaul that today. And I've got a couple ideas to try, but for right now, I'm going to take off the bat so we don't have any bats attacking us while we work on this. And we're gonna render some test sprites so we can kind of talk through how the collision for the falling into the chasm is gonna work, because it's just busted right now. Yeah, we shouldn't be able to walk diagonally over there and just bypass the chasm. So let's test some stuff out here. So right now, let's see. I want to get a player rendering on screen so I can kind of talk through how we're going to do the collision detection for the chasm. So I'm going to make some variables here, and we can use the, I think it's love.mouse get position. Might be a method. Get position. Is that it? Let me see. Hey Loki, what is up? It's dot get position. So the idea here is I'm just going to get the X and Y from the mouse position, and we're just going to render a fake Tashio so we can kind of talk through how the collision is going to work. So we're going to draw a Tashio tester that we've imported. We're going to draw it at this X and Y that we pull from our mouse position, and we'll see if we get one. Okay. We need to update the mouse position over time so that we get the new positions, right? So we're going to say we're going to reassign this in the scene update it over time so that we get updated positions. You have your quest system looping back to the map to select the next quest. Only 2 are set up. Okay, nice. That should be fun. Oh, shoot. We have a Tashio on screen. It is by the mouse position, not the virtual width position, so that's okay. This is just to kind of experiment. So like right now what's happening is we have AABB collision on the pits, and a pit is in X and a Y and a width and a height of a tile size. So every square, every tile of pit is one whole pit instantiation. And that's why if we walk into a pit here, see how we kind of dragged up? We kind of dragged up because the pit we ended up colliding with was this pit right here. And our tween values are dragging our player's X and Y to be equal to the pit's X and Y. So that's why we dragged up and fell, which isn't so necessary. If it's a chasm like this, we should just get pulled orthogonally, right? We shouldn't be dragged up like that. So we need to figure out a way to do that better than dragging us to the nearest pit tile. So what is a better alternative? Because the pit tile works, like dragging it to the corner of the pit works when we are talking about the single pits. Like over here, we've got a single pit, and if we barely touch the corner of it, oh, and we got rid of the pit collision for any tile IDs. Now that we drew new ones, so I can't show that off. But basically, the current method we have works for this, because if we collide right here, it'll drag our X position to be equal to the pit's X position, and then it'll trigger the fall. So for single pits, it makes sense to drag it like that. So maybe we have a difference in logic for pit collisions that we do for chasm collisions. Because I guess what I'm calling, a single tile size of a pit is a pit, and multiple squares of pits are going to be called chasms, I guess. So we can do different collisions. So with something like the chasm here, we don't want to be able to walk over a chasm without triggering a fall. And we want to, when we drag and tween our position, we only want orthogonal updates. So yeah, I think that makes sense to try to work around. How would we trigger our fall differently for chasms? Well, we could set up. See, and it's so tough because it's like when we think about the hitboxes, we can have a left trigger for a chasm here. We just have to kind of offset our hitboxes for the AABB. So what we can do, because I kind of want to, let's see, if we just demonstrate this Tashio tester. So if we had a layer here, and we're trying to figure out, do we drag us into the chasm, which direction? So let's just say, we have something like this where we would leave a couple pixels on the side, on the corners. So if these are our bounding boxes for collision detection for the pit, because the issue is we really don't want to, if we collide with the pit on this side, if this box up here for top collision was this far over, we could trigger a slide up instead of a slide to the side, right? And that will not only look terrible, but be broken. So if we have, and we probably have to, we might have to shrink that even a little bit more. Because basically what I'm thinking is, yeah, maybe what we do is, I'm thinking we shrink the up and down just a little bit. And that can give us a little more room for the side collisions. We just really don't want these overlapping, right? We don't want to accidentally trigger. And maybe we do 3 pixels for each. So we can get, we just really don't want to get either of these wrong. So, oh, that's wrong. We want this. So if our bounding boxes looked like this, son of a bitch. This, 3 pixels tall. Okay, so if our chasm colliding bounding boxes look like this, how would we get a triangular? Yeah, I'm trying to think. Let's look at this. I'm gonna save this as a PNG and we can kind of play around with it. Okay, so the question is, yeah, where did our... Save as a PNG. Okay. So if this is our bounding box for the chasms, you know, if we're about to walk into a right chasm and we trigger a collision with that right pink one, then we just say, let's tween our values to pull us into the chasm. That's easy enough. Same with the left, right? We collide right here, so let's just tween us to the left, and then either after a period of time or once our X position gets sufficiently over, then we trigger the chasm. How we're doing it right now is we have this fall timer, and the idea is, like, if you walk diagonally across the chasm like this, then the game would say, okay, well, we know you're colliding with the chasm, but you're still giving some inputs to move your direction. So as long as your position is not colliding with the chasm anymore, by the time, you know, like 0.3 seconds, if you're in that range of 0.3 seconds, it'll trigger the fall. Otherwise, you can kind of just walk diagonally over without falling. See, like that. I mean, it's like we can walk diagonally, but if we stop, it'll pull us. So, you know, we don't want it to be that lenient. We don't want it to be where you can just walk that far over. So we need to do something different. So how would if we change the bounding boxes to this method, how do we trigger a diagonal pull where it pulls us both into the X, Y? You know, because right here, you know, if this pulls us right, and if the purple would pull us down, then if we go diagonally like this, and then boom, we're here, the purple might trigger and it would pull us down, which isn't, you know, it isn't in the chasm. So it would play the falling animation and we wouldn't be falling. So maybe we have another, I don't know. I don't really like how many bounding boxes we would have for this, because this is on our player, which is updating, you know, 60 times a second, and we'd be adding 8 collision bounding box calculations every frame, regardless of if there's even chasms in the scene. So I kind of don't like the idea of putting 4 more detectors for the diagonals, because if you imagine that we had like I guess we can just do it real quick. You know, if these were our diagonal, oh, come on, man. Yeah, okay. So then if the bright green were the diagonal triggers, see, there's still an issue here, because then we can't, you know, if we go this way, we should trigger only the pink ones. But instead, depending on the order layer that we run the function, you know, the collision function call, it could trigger one of these green collisions. So I guess we could test for side collisions first. If there is a side collision, then it's like, oh, okay, this would move left and drag us in. It would move right, drag us in. But if it's like this, and we've got just a corner collision, then we would say, okay, well, now we need to tween both our X and Y to be equal to the X and Y of the chasm that we've collided with. So it would drag us diagonally into there. We'd have to be very careful about the order layer, though. We have to check for side collisions first, and then do an else block, right? Because if we trigger a left collision, but then here is also triggering a corner collision, right? Both of those greens are colliding with the chasm, so then it would try to drag us diagonally. So we would need to make sure to only do one drag. So is this the best method, though? Like, this is 8 bounding blocks worth of collision detection for the player, regardless of if there's any chasms out. So I don't know if I like it, like, because I kind of like what we've got going on now, because what we got going on now is like we have a pit class, right? And pits exist every 16 by 16 pits. And we're just testing for collision with that. And if we collide with that, we drag us to the same X and Y of that pit we collided with. So maybe there's a way. Hey, what up, Squinch? Yo, we're trying to talk through this, how to fix our collision detection for the chasms, because we can walk diagonally over the chasms right now instead of it making us fall in. So trying to think of how to redo that. Okay, because at the end of the day, we still have to, I don't know. Because if we separate the pits and the chasms so that we still have the original pit drag logic for single pits, then we have to find a way to run collision on any chasm tile ID, right? So, I have not actually tested how Link's Awakening handles it. There's no, as far as I know, source code available for it, but I could play it and see how it drags. But I'm thinking it doesn't do what mine's doing, which is drag me diagonally here for a side collision, So it has to treat chasms differently than pits, at the very least, I'm thinking, because ours is just a little weird like that. So the other thing is, like, I kind of want, I kind of wanted the ability to escape the gravity pull of the chasm, right? So, like, if we walk diagonally like that, maybe that is allowed. Like, we can fight the pull. Once it starts to pull us, we can fight it and get out, because Zelda kind of has that. But I don't know, it just makes it more difficult, coding wise, especially when we're trying to avoid stuff like this, which is just that shouldn't be allowed. So the issue we've got to figure out is, right now we're inserting pit objects for every tile ID that is equal to a predefined chasm or pit. So we have an object in the game to represent pits. So I guess we would just kind of what feature from Balatro are you talking about? I think the move is we make chasm objects too, and we have weak pull and a strong pull. Yeah, because it's like if your X position passes the halfway mark of a chasm, it should trigger the fall instantly, so that we don't have the ability to walk over like that. But if we walk diagonally and our positions didn't quite get far off, only slightly colliding with the corner, then we'd be able to survive it like that. So maybe we can do something like that where, maybe we can add to our chasm logic where we say, if our X position is greater than half of the width of the pit, we would just trigger a fall no matter what. But another thing to think about is I don't like... Man, yeah, I'm trying to think it through, because it's like, if we have something similar where we say every pit of a chasm is our own chasm object, then if we imagine a dungeon of mostly chasm, that would be up to like 60 or 80 chasm objects. And we would be checking collision on 8 bounding boxes for every single chasm object there is, which could be up to like 60 if we have it. So 60 times a second, we'd be asking, 80 tiles worth for 8 collisions each. Are we colliding with any of those things? So maybe the move is, we do have like an event trigger. Yeah, because maybe instead of... Oh, shoot. How do we do it? I know we have like an event trigger that we can avoid a lot of that unnecessary computation. But we would have to test... I don't know how we do it. Let's see where we're using our event triggers right now. See, we're using like an event trigger for a transition, right? So we dispatch an event. So maybe instead of running collision on all the chasms and pits in the given scene, we just test our player's position. Man, it's still kind of the same idea, right? Where we don't know if we're colliding with a chasm unless we check all of the chasms in the table for collision. So this doesn't help us out too much, I don't think. I don't know. It seems like much too much computation to do 8 bounding boxes every frame for every single chasm or pit. No, Squinge, we need the corner collisions also, because if we just drag ourselves orthogonally, we could not fall into the chasm once it drags us. So we have to have the corners, because if we collide with the corners, it needs to drag us into the chasm before it triggers our fall. I guess we just go for it. I mean, this is one reason I opted for a tiny Game Boy game, is because I'm not great at optimizing, right? So like if we have to do a bunch of checks unnecessarily, but we can't figure it out, we can kind of get away with it. I don't know of a better way to do it though. Let me think. Because if we do like a dispatch thing like this, we would have to... If you have a whole bunch of chasm objects, you only need to check the ones that are touching walkable ground. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, because if there's chasm surrounded by chasm, you're not gonna get there anyway. Ideally, it's like we wouldn't need to check collision for those. That would be right. So maybe I think this event dispatch would be it. Instead of checking all 8 points, you might need to only check 3. It's just that we don't know which sides to check in the game. We kind of have to check all of them because we don't know what we're colliding with. So we kind of have to just check collision on them in a certain order. And if we have any side collision first, we would just say, okay, well, we're side collided, so let's go ahead and do that. I think the event dispatch might be it, but I'm trying to think of how we would handle it. Because in order to... Yeah, because like, let's say we dispatch a drag to the right. A right chasm drag dispatch. In order to dispatch that event, we'd have to right collide with a chasm object. So maybe... Because you know, like if our player, you know, if our player's in the bottom left, why would we waste our time checking collision for chasms that we're not even near? You know, why are we checking for collisions on chasms that are anywhere further than one tile away from us? You know, we might need to check collisions for this one up here. The one right here. We might need to check that because our corner is very close to colliding with that chasm. So maybe we can go the event dispatch route, and kind of what we can do is kind of like, you know, we take our player's position and we basically snag any collidable object, or, you know, any pit or chasm object that has an X position, you know, within 9 tiles around us. So that we would kind of snag like an active potential chasm collides, and then we would only be checking 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 9 tiles worth of collisions. That kind of makes sense to me. Because then what we can do is we can do this event dispatch for our player where we cycle through all those 9 chasms that we're touching and say, hey, is there any like left collision, top right collision, you know, do sides first and then do corners after sides. I think that makes sense. So I guess the question would be, how do we pull, you know, we would need like an active sort of table of potential chasm collisions that have either pits or chasms. I want to say we'll limit pits to be the overworld and we'll limit chasms to be the dungeon. But maybe not, because I can imagine a chasm in the overworld that we'd want. Okay, so I kind of like this idea, you know, because then, you know, as long as once our player updates our position, if we walk up here, we only have 3 chasms to check for, because these are the only close ones. So the issue would be, how can we reliably pull the chasm objects for the positions within a certain value of our player? Let's take a look at our pit class and see what we have for it. I think we have an X and Y width and height. What did we do? Yeah, we have an X, Y width and height. So yeah, so I guess if we wanted to pull the actual instantiation into a table of potential chasm collides or whatever, we can, you know, we would flush our table of potential chasms. We would cycle through, see, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're still cycling through every chasm because we have to check the chasm's X position. I mean, unless, I guess we could, I'm kind of thinking like maybe if we imagine like we know what tile our player's in. So theoretically we would be able to kind of configure the tiles that are directly around us. Right? So anytime our center goes into a new tile location, we can get a list of numbers of tiles that we would need to check for collision. So if we do that, then instead of cycling through all the chasms, we just cycle through the chasms with the IDs equal to the values that are directly around us, right? So we would say, I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like it's still the same junk. Like, we still have to kind of cycle through all the chasms anyway, so... I mean, it would be better in the sense that we don't have to check collision with the chasms that are way over here, but we'd still have to cycle through the chasms and see if their ID is equal to one of the ones that are directly around us. But then even then, you know, an ID number isn't very useful to us. We have to know the X and Y of whatever tiles are kind of surrounding us. Yo, what up, Sasquatch? Yo, there's never enough time, dude. Never enough time. I've been freelancing and stuff on the weekend here, and then cleaned my room today, so the whole day went by too fast. But yeah, how did yours go? I'm not sure what we gotta do here. I don't know, I think it'd be a good exercise to kind of do something like this, because it doesn't make sense to me to check collision on chasms that are so far away from our player. I guess we could cycle through our chasms and kind of calculate. Gosh, man, everything I think of is just, it seems like it's too much. Because I'm thinking like, you know, we take our chasm X and Y, we calculate the distance from that into the player, and we don't check collision if it's greater than, you know, greater than 32 distance away from the player. Nice, dude. Nice. Yeah, we should meet up here soon and do that. I meant to talk to you today, and then I woke up at noon, you know, which was needed, but then by the time I got 2 things done, the day was over, you know. So it really sucked. But that is cool. Good job on that, dude. Yeah, we could go the distance route, but then again, distance is tricky, because if we're calculating distance between the top left corner and the top left of us, that's a different value than if we're calculating the bottom left corner and the top right of us. So we get wonky distances. We saw that with the bat, right? Because we wanted the bat to stop a certain distance to us. Okay, I think what we do is just check collision with all the chasms. You know, the computer should be able to run a couple unnecessary checks. Oh, that's so lazy. I don't know. Everything I think of is like, well, we have to check chasm shit anyway, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking we add, you know, we would add these bounding boxes that we have drawn here. It would be on the player, Sasquatch. I think it'd be on the player, and we're checking it against all the chasms. Because at the end of the day, we need to know if the player is like bottom right colliding with any chasm, so that we can drag us diagonally into it. So I think it would be part of the player, and then we just do it against all our chasms. Yeah, I mean, we could do like a lazy version of the distance algorithm where we calculate the hypotenuse of the position of the chasm in the player, and if it's greater than 40, then we know, don't even check collision on this one, we're way too far. Then we optimize a little bit, but I get overwhelmed thinking about doing the perfect optimization of only 9 tiles around us or whatever. That's a little bit too much. So yeah, I think this is the move. Okay, I think this is the move. So what we do have to do is rehaul our pit collision to drag both the X and the Y and get our singular pit collision back, because that's not a thing right now. And then we have to add a chasm object if we're the tile ID of any sort of chasm, and then, you know, tidy up the artwork for it. So shoot. Let's get our pit fixed first. I don't know why we even have a pit count. I don't know what that's for. Okay, so we're gonna change this, right? This is gonna be the chasms. But we need to fix it for the pits. So we know that there's a pit if the tile ID is equal to 15, I believe, or 14, equal to 14. Okay, let's see. We want our pit collision back. Nice. Okay, so we've got, it was tile 14 for the pits. So this one, you know, this will always drag us to the X and Y of the pit itself, which works great for singular pits. It's just that with a chasm, we don't want to be dragging us diagonal. We just want to pull us straight in if we're orthogonal to the chasm. So right now we don't have any collision for that because there are no pits, because our chasms are within this range of 16 and 22 for our tile ID. So instead of inserting a pit, you know, we would insert a chasm object into a chasm table, and we need to make this chasm table. So let's see where, you know, we don't need this global pits anymore. So I guess I want to see where we're doing the tween for the pit collision. It's right here. Okay, so Man, we jacked this up. What is this? We have if tween allowed, go ahead and tween. What are we doing tween allowed for, man? Tween allowed is true if our graveyard timer is greater than 0.3. Okay. It's so weird. I know, Sasquatch, that's the thing though. It's like we gotta check something, right? I'd rather do a bunch of distance checks than 8 bounding box checks for every chasm that is further than 60 pixels away from us, you know? So it's kind of just like not a great optimization, but it's better than nothing. Layers gets weird because the layers are, you know, any time we add any one layer, we add you know, anytime we add one layer of something, like we have our ground tile, above ground, and a top level tile, anytime we add one layer, we add a value for every single one of these tiles in the overworld. And then we have to, you know, like, even if there's nothing in there, it gets a 0 in that position. And then we'd have to go ask we'd have to cycle through every one and ask, okay, well, if it's not a 0, if it's not a 0, if it's not a 0, I guess we could pull, you know, once upon the init, cycle through the layer and say, well, yeah, I guess once we init it, I don't know, because it's like as we insert the chasm tile ID, right, in our data downloader, we technically could say, okay, if it's a chasm tile ID, which would be a check for every single tile in our whole overworld map, which is one reason I think it's starting to load a little slow. We could say, okay, if it's a chasm tile ID, add it to a chasm table. I mean, yeah, it's still the same issue. Asked Google if there's collision detection for this. I have not. I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep chugging along with the current idea. It's not great, but it's not, I don't know. Okay, our pit collision. It's tough, man. Like anything, I've got so much more respect for game dev trying to do anything. Like I play Link's Awakening, I'm like, bro, they figured this out in assembly. They did this with hardware constrictions, you know, like, that's crazy to me. It was also more than one dude, probably. But, okay, I don't know what the hell this tween allowed us for. Where do we say tween allowed is false? Okay. Oh, to stop tweening us once we've fallen. Okay, so that should probably be just tied to whether or not we're falling. Okay. Yes. So, okay, I say we leave our pits as is, right? Our pits are tile ID of 14. Those are the transparent single tile pits that always need to drag us to both the X and the Y. I think that's okay. And then what we do is we add a chasm, and we would add, you know, how do we do this? Because if we add those 8 bounding boxes on our player for the chasms, our player would cycle through add the chasms to a table on a knit if they are next to walkable ground. Then iterate over the known list. It's just that the chasms, like, yeah, I think you're right about that, Squinch. Like, I'm not worried about like segmented chasms. Like, if your chasm's surrounded by chasm, we don't need to check your collision because you're unreachable. I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about every chasm that is touching the ground next to walkable ground, checking collision for all of those. So I think a decent move is to just do those distance checks for all the chasms. I have a table of the chasms in the room Sasquatch. I mean, I don't yet, but just like how I have the pits in our map, every map will have a table of all the pits and all the chasms. So if there's only one in there, there's only one to check. But if there's a whole bunch, there's a whole bunch to check. So that's why I'm kind of thinking to do that distance thing, where instead of checking all 8 collisions for every single chasm, first check the distance. If it's greater than 64 pixels distance, move on to the next chasm to check the collisions on that one. So let's add a chasm class. So we have our pit here. Let's add a chasm. So chasm.lua. It needs to be a class. So chasm gets class curly brace underscore includes equals, no, not base state. Shit, I think it's just this, just class. Yeah, we don't have a pit required. We do this in map declarations. Okay. I don't know if I like that. Let's put it back in here. You know, there was probably a reason why we moved it there. I think we had, well, no, that works. Okay, as long as we do it before the map, we should be okay. So let's require our chasm here as well. And then let's take a look at our pit. So our pit takes in a row and column, and then we calculate the x and y based of it, and a width and a height. Okay, so our pit collision is linked to the pit and not the player. So we would... I don't know if I like that. Because our player has AABB for other objects, so we should probably be running that instead of the pit method for collide. But how do we do the pits collide here? Yeah, I feel like this should be the other way around. We should run the collide function that's attached to the player on the pits, but this is fine. This is whatever. Okay, so let's do our chasm. Why do we render the pits red? I've got no idea. Yeah, Squinch, there's a very fine line to trigger it, because there's like, I feel like there's like 10 frames of animation, and he gets so small when he's on like the 6th frame of animation that it looks like he's fully fallen by then, which is like right after it gets triggered. So if he's not mostly in the chasm before that gets triggered, he looks like he falls into the ground, and it just like ruins the illusion. Okay, so for right now, we just have a chasm with a scene row, scene call. Okay, so where do we do our pit insertion? Right here. So we have to pull in our chasms, right, where we say, okay, well, if our tile ID is between 16 and 22, then we need to insert a chasm into the chasms table. So we don't have this just yet. So let's give us that table. So we need, every one of our maps needs a chasm table to store all the known chasms. So we've got it. Now we insert a chasm object into, where is it, man? Pit. Yeah, okay, so we pass the scene row, scene column of the map. Okay, so yeah, map row, map call is like which index of the map we're at, and then scene row, scene call is what's the height of the, within the scene, the row and column. Okay, and then we insert, as long as we draw our chasms on the above ground tile map, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's okay. We can have it on that layer, I guess. I really don't know. At this point, we've got a chasm object that we can run collision on. So I do think we want this method for these 8 bounding box collisions to be paired to the player, not paired to the chasm. Well, let me think it through. If it's on the... Actually, well... Shit. Yeah, we could... If we add it to the chasm... If we add it to the chasm, we can just do traditional AABB just to detect a collision. And then once we know that there is a collision, we just do some simple math to get the relationship of that collision, right? Like, is the player on the right side of us? Is it directly above us? And then we can kind of trigger the tweening based on the positioning at that point, instead of doing the 8 bounding boxes. Like, we still have to, we'd have to define some stuff like, shoot, I don't know. The player, yeah, so right now we have this, I think I call it gravity suck. No. But basically, if it collides with a pit, there's a little timer that gets set. And it'll tween, well, let's see, I don't even know. Pit collision. Okay, so it gets pulled in as soon as we collide with the pit, we start tweening our value as long as we don't have an input list, which is a little weird. Yeah, this was to make it so that we could kind of escape the pit, but yeah, actually that's pretty bad. We probably shouldn't do that. Let's see if a pit, if we can just walk over it as long as we're holding an input, we can. Well, not every time. So how did we trigger a fall sometimes but not every time? Okay, if we ignore the input list, does it make us trigger no matter what? Yeah. See, because like right here, well, without that input list check, it starts tweening the instant we collide with it, which makes it impossible to escape the pull of the pit, which could be what we go for. I had it so that you could kind of escape it, because that's how Link's Awakening was. But we might have to just do this so that you can't just walk right over it. Yeah, we might end up doing that. Well, see, look at that. Like, that's... Oh. I don't know. I don't like that either, man. I don't know. It's pretty jacked up. But right now, it's getting pulled into the pit the instant we collide with the pit. So we need to do something similar with the chasms, but depending on which collision it is, either pull us just straight to the side or pull us diagonally if it was a diagonal collision. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So we do need to configure the collision function for a chasm onto our player. So something like this. It looks like we've got 3 pixels. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that makes it easy. This too. Okay. So we need to configure, yeah, a collision function for this. I'm going to leave this up as a reference. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking we can put it on our player render for now. Because we need to calculate all the X and Y width and height and stuff. So let's do a red. Oops. We can define all the constants here and make sure the values are correct, and then we can write the collision for each bounding box. So if red's gonna be, this will be our top bounding box, so we can define it as chasm top collide X, top collide Y, and then a top collide width and height, right? Okay, so if we're defining that, we need to update it based on the player. So for right now, we can just do it. Okay, chasm. Top collide. Okay. So this is in our player, so we should just be able to take our X position and add the 3 pixels. Yeah. Add the 3 pixels for the X. Y would be same as our Y. Width would be 10. Height would be 3. Okay. Okay, so there's our top collide bounding box, right? For the player. And we need the corresponding other ones. Okay, so we'll do a bottom collide. And the bottom collide is going to be same thing, x plus 3, but this would be the bottom of us. And then width is the same, 10, height is 3. So then we just need to draw it as well. Okay, so we need to shift it upwards. It needs to be not at the bottom of us, but 3 pixels away from being the bottom of us. Okay, so there's our top and bottom collides boxes. Wow, why does that look weird? Why does it look jittery, man? He doesn't look jittery here. Why does he look jittery in here? Oh no, man. I do not want to deal with this right now. I don't know why he's looking like that. Okay, there's going to be a left collide. That is going to be our x, our y plus 3, a width of 3, a height of 10. Okay. Yo. Why is he jittering up and down? We're like flooring. See how our y is like, well. See, look at our y going crazy here. It's always a point something value. But here in the dungeon, our y was like floored half the time. Yeah, see, it's at 0 most of the... Well, he's not jittering there. Well, what the fuck? There he's fine. There he's jittering. There he's fine. I don't know. We'll have to do some more testing on that. It shouldn't be a different logic whether or not we're in the underworld or not. See, look, we're jittering there. What the heck? Okay. Let's do the right collide. And it will be the right side of us minus 3 pixels. Y is going to be plus 3. Width is 3. Height is 10. That looks right. Okay. So we got the side collision. Oh, that was weird. See, because if we're here, you know, if what I don't want to do is if we're here, you know, right here, this would technically be a bottom collision, right? So it would drag us straight downwards. So it would drag us here, and then we would fall, and it would look like we're falling onto the ground. So we need the diagonal ones so that if there's ever a diagonal collision like this, it would drag us diagonally to that chasm XY and then make us fall. So I do think we need that. Okay, so let's do our corner collides. Okay, top left would be just our X. Y would be just our Y, and it looks like it is a 3x3. Okay, so there's our top left collision box. Yeah, and we might keep these as variables, or we might just calculate them in the collision methods. I'm just doing this so that we have the correct, so that we can prove we have the correct values instead of me sitting there trying to do the left side of the bottom bounding box for the AABB collision. It's just, it gets messy. So I'm just like proving that we've got the right values, and then we can add it to the function. So okay, so this would be plus our width minus 3. Y would be our Y, 3, 3, cool. Okay, there's our top right box. Now, and the thing is, we have... You know, it's like we've got this for other things. So it's like, this isn't necessarily limited to a chasm bottom right collide. It's like, it's just a player bottom right collide or whatever. We've got that for other stuff, like for crates or for non-collidable map objects, or for collidable map objects for entities. Like, we're already doing some form of this. It's just that these specific values are the ones I'm thinking might work for the chasm. So yeah, I don't know. It depends on what type of collisions we need, right? So I guess for now we'll keep it the chasm, named as a chasm, and then maybe we'll update it to a more generic corner collide at some point if we need it for another reason, which we probably would. messed that up. That should be all of our collisions. Okay, so the order of operations will go... We check for side collisions first. If there is a side collision... See, we might need to scoot it. Because right here should probably be a corner collision. Because right here, if we check sides first, this would trigger a left collision, and then it would drag us straight left, and it would make us fall right here, which is still kind of above ground. So, well, not necessarily. Oh, okay. Because we check corners first. So corner will have preference. So as soon as this is colliding, even though it's a left collide, it triggers a left corner collision, which will drag us down and then fall. So let's try to get it where, yeah, okay, so that can work. Because then left, well, no. I guess we have to check left collision first. If there's, shoot, how do we do it? Because something like this should probably be just a left pull, right? It should just pull us left and we should fall. So how do we know we need to pull us just left and not down into the left? Well, it depends on our Y position in relation to the chasm. So yeah, maybe instead, gosh, I don't know. Because something like, this makes sense for a corner, right? Like if we trigger here, but see, like that doesn't look good enough to actually pull us into the corner. Because if you look at our feet when we're here, our feet aren't even kind of touching the chasm, yet we would be pulled into the chasm. So we should shrink this down a bit, because that doesn't look, that's not appropriate for pulling us into the chasm. Yeah, we should not be followed. Okay, so man, all that talking through just to completely change our plan here. Yeah, well, first of all, we do need it to be pulled inwards. We need it to be a smaller. Yeah, something like that is probably more appropriate to pull us into the chasm, right? Especially the top corners. The top can actually afford to be even lower because, just because our head is touching the bottom of a chasm doesn't mean we would fall into it. So it should be a lot more like this, something like this. Yeah. And then at this point, okay. Okay. I'm kind of thinking yeah, how would we know we need to pull us orthogonally and not diagonally? Is the big question I'm thinking. And it's like it comes down to I don't know. This is a better start though. Something like this. So we'll modify let's modify our bounding boxes to be something more like this, and then I think we'll call it a night. So let us just save this as a PNG. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll fix this. Oh, did our sprite just crash? Two pixels. Okay. And then for our corner collision, probably I think we want to pull us diagonally if there is a diagonal collision and no side collision, right? If there's no left, right, top or bottom collision, but there is a corner collision, then drag. If there's a collision and there's a side collision first, we need to probably prioritize the side collision. Okay. I think that's okay. Then what is this difference in pixels? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So let's do our collision based on this instead. Okay, so the width of this is now what? 1, 2, 3. Okay. See, and when we don't define this, like when I try to tweak the bounding boxes in the function logic for the collision, I get so confused. So it's better to calculate it here separately, and then we'll worry about it. Right, what's the chances we did that right? Oh, it actually looks pretty good. Okay. Okay, so this is looking better. So now it's like, you know, if we trigger right here, there is a... You know, there's a corner collision, no side collision, so it would trigger the fall. But see, even that, it looks like we're standing on solid ground, right? It looks like we're standing on solid ground, so we probably shouldn't trigger the fall right here. I don't know, it's pretty... Yeah, it looks like we're on solid ground there. So we might need to pull the boxes inwards a bit more. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, man. Okay. We moved this in by 1. Y should be the same. We did deduct a width from here. Still 4. Okay, let's see it now. We messed up our top and bottom. Or we didn't pull them in. Oh, we have to pull... No. Top and bottom need to go left 1. X plus 6 would be, oh yeah, plus 5. Okay. Okay, so if these are our little chasm colliders, if there is both a left collide and a bottom collide like there is here, you know, we've got a corner collide and a left collide. The left collide would take priority, so it would move us left and then trigger a fall. Now, does it look like we should fall there? Because what we're trying to do, you know, or we could say, oh, fuck. We could say if there's, you know, we could say if there's both a top left and a bottom left collision, then just pull a straight left. That looks more correct, because I believe, yeah, if we're right here, that should trigger a pull. Yeah. That should pull just to the side, right? No diagonal pull. But if there's only... if one corner and not the other corner, yeah, I mean, maybe we just do it based on the corners. Because if we have the corners, we can say, okay, well, there's only one corner, so pull diagonally. And then if there's two corners, just pull to the side that those two corners are on. So no diagonal pull, just an X. If there's two corners and it's the bottom ones, pull on the Y. That might be the move. If there's two corners and it's just the right side, pull just directly right. That might be the move. Just do corners. I think I like that, because then if we're here, that would be a diagonal pull. this would be a diagonal pull. Yeah. So I want to shift. I think I like that. Yeah, because then we can see. I think I do like that. I do want to scoot them inwards one more, though. Because when you think about the tile has, like for the chasm, see how it's got this kind of like speckled ground part? It's like an edge to the chasm. You know, that, see like right here, that's technically a collision with the chasm, even though we're only touching the edge of that piece. So I think we need to scoot them in by one more pixel to make it so that only something like that. See, even more so. We might need to pull it more, because when we're facing the side, you know, our feet don't go very far inwards. So yeah, we might need to move them even more than that. So let's ignore our side collisions and just go with this corner collision idea. And let's only render the corners. And we will just scoot them inwards a bit. So I want to scoot. Let's just scoot them in by one. And see how that looks. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's look for a bottom left collision here. You know, it would be colliding right here, would be like the first pixel we're colliding. Now that doesn't quite look like it should pull us. Yeah, it doesn't look like there. So that's the first pixel that this one would bottom left collide with. That doesn't look like we should be pulled in. So let's scoot them in one more. Okay. The dots look a little weird, but so basically, let's get to the point. Yeah. So this is the first pixel we would have a bottom left collision with. Does it look like that would trigger a fall? Not quite, right? I mean, it looks like we're on the edge, just about to fall, but probably shouldn't trigger a fall. Because there's 2 pixels of non-chasm ground before the chasm actually hits. So I think we can afford to scoot it in one more. Let's see the right side. Yeah, see, look, yeah, because this would technically be bottom right colliding with a chasm, but it looks like we're on solid ground still, if you look at our feet. So I think we could afford... Yo, hey, Soup, thank you for the bits. You get a badge for cheering it. Okay, I'll take it, dude. Hey, thank you so much. That's awesome. Thanks, dude. I gotta see that badge. I gotta see the badge, man. Yeah, I say we scoot it in one more. And then we also, I think we can afford to scoot our top collision ones down. Let's see that. Okay. You know, it looks weird right? It looks like they're touching each other. Let's change the color of, you know, we'll do red and green. We'll do top left, top right, different colors, and then bottom left, bottom right, different colors. So we can see all four. Hey, you're good, man. What game were you playing? 1K bits badge. Heck yeah, dude. Awesome. Yo, whoa, you got the trifecta there, dude. Founder mod and biddy badge. Nice. Okay. Wow. It really looks so different than what we were attempting, right? But I think this actually, and red is a bad color because Tashio was mostly red, so let's do blue. Yeah, I think I like this method because what we can do is we check for collision with a chasm, right? Which the first pixel of bottom left would trigger is about right here. So that looks like it should probably pull us in, right? That's about, yeah, that's a collision with the bottom left. So if we get to here, it would pull a bottom left, which would tween just like our pits do, both our X and Y. So it would tween us here and then drop us. But what we can do is if we get a corner check, we can check the adjacent corners, because if we have both a bottom left and a bottom right check, then we need to pull just tween our Y's. So we pull straight down. And then if we check the adjacent and we just check the left ones, then if both left corners are colliding with a chasm, we pull just left. We tween just our X position, not our Y. But if there's only one collision, we tween our X and Y. Now, as long as our X and Y position don't ever put us in a spot where we're getting, because what I'm worried about is like we walk so fast that the first frame that gets checked for these collisions is like right here. But I guess even here, if we'd accidentally detect a bottom left and bottom right collision when this should just be a bottom right, because it should just tween us down into the right, if we tween just down for here, it probably looks okay because we're kind of over the chasm. So that's the one thing I don't like about them being this close. But this might do the trick for us. It's not what I initially envisioned, but I think this could work. So I guess in the order of operations, we would say, we have 4 collision bounding boxes for our player and the chasms. And we would cycle through all of our chasms that have a chasm object inside the table of known chasms for the scene. For the map, actually. We would cycle through our chasms. We would check one at a time. We would check our top left first. If there's no top left, we go counterclockwise or whatever. And then as soon as we find any of those chasms, as soon as we find any of those collisions, right? If we find a top left collision, we need to check adjacent corners. So if we find a top left, we have to check both the bottom left and the top right. And then if either of those are also true, then we know we need to tween just our Y values or just our X value. If there's only one collision, we can do the pit tween, which tweens both the X and the Y to give us that diagonal drag for the corner. Because if we're right here, it should drag us to the corner and drop us. So I think that's the move. So it came out, I think we'll do the bulk of that stuff tomorrow now that we've got the concept and the values for our bounding boxes, and we'll do the actual collision and chasm stuff tomorrow, I'm thinking. So let's just make sure our get diff doesn't have any weird stuff hidden. We added a chasm table for our map. We have separate insertions for pits and chasms now, as well as a chasm class. And then we defined our bounding boxes for the chasms, and we're rendering them to our player at the moment. We also have a Tashio tester rendering, which is just proof of concept, or just to talk about. So we'll say added chasm class and bounding boxes for collision, for chasm collision or something. Cool. So tomorrow we will actually implement the collision detection for those bounding boxes we defined today. And hopefully we'll have better chasm falls by the end of tomorrow. So thanks for watching, everyone. We're working on our way towards the demo here. Once we finish this first dungeon, we have to add like a title cinematic, some expositional dialogue for the story for the game, as well as a couple more scenes to explore and NPCs to possibly talk to for the demo. But we're well on our way to getting the demo ready. So I'm hoping, part of me thinks we should make a date to kind of like really strive for, like a month from now. So maybe like 1st of March we shoot for it, but it's gonna be, I don't know. We'll keep chugging along and try to do it as fast as we can so that we can get it. Because at this point, even if we do March, it'll have taken us 13 months to get a demo out, which of daily work is kind of slow, right? So we need to speed up if we want the game done. So we might speed up. Easier said than done. But thanks for watching. Oh, let's run the credits and then we'll call it a night. We'll find someone to raid. Let's see. Hypnotic. Looks like Hypnotic is playing chess. Okay. Well, we'll raid out to John Blow because he's making the language I'm going to move over to for game development. He's working on the language and the game. We'll raid out to him and call it a night. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll get the collision actually implemented for the chasms here.